The sand feels soft under the boots. Too soft. It gives way with every step. Black grains slide like ash beneath tired feet. The sea is behind them now. The noise of the waves fades. The noise of the guns has already stopped. That is what feels strange. The Marines were told the island was smashed. Days of heavy fire, ships, planes, endless thunder. Nothing this small could survive that. But the beach is quiet. Too quiet. Men look around. Some kneel. Some lie flat, waiting for something to happen. They expect shouting. They expect shots. They expect death to announce itself. Instead, there is silence. Ahead of them rises a low hill. Dark rock. No trees. No movement. No enemy in sight. A Marine grips his rifle tighter. His heart beats fast. He feels exposed. There is nowhere to hide. No cover. Just open ground and black sand. Someone whispers that maybe the enemy is gone. Maybe the bombing worked. Maybe this one will be easy. No one fully believes it. Then the ground answers. Not from the hilltop. Not from the front. From everywhere at once. Hidden openings. Burst alive. The sand jumps. The air cracks with sudden sound. Men freeze. Then they run. Then they drop. Orders are shouted but disappear into the noise. Radios fail. Signals are missed. The beach turns into confusion. The enemy was never on the surface. They were below it. This island was not defended like the others. It was prepared like a trap. Every step forward now feels watched. Every pause feels dangerous. The Marines realize something terrible. The battle has only just begun. Far beneath the surface, Japanese soldiers wait in dark tunnels. They hear the explosions above. They feel the ground shake. They do not rush forward. They were trained not to. Their commander told them to wait. Let the enemy come close. Let them feel safe first. So they waited, and now the moment has come. On the beach, time seems to slow. A Marine presses his face into the sand. It smells like smoke and burned earth. He tries to breathe calmly. He cannot see who is shooting. He can only feel it. This is not a normal fight. There are no clear lines, no obvious enemy. Just an island that seems alive and angry. Some men crawl forward inch by inch. Others stay still, afraid to move. Fear spreads quietly, faster than any order. They were trained for courage. They were trained for fire. They were not trained for this kind of silence. Every small rise in the ground could hide a threat. Every dark opening could be a weapon. Minutes feel like hours. The sun beats down. The sand burns through uniforms. Water runs low. Still, the Marines move forward. Slowly, carefully, because stopping means staying exposed. Above them, the sky is clear. Below them, the island is full of eyes. This is Iwo Jima, a small island, a narrow strip of land. Yet it already feels endless. What was meant to be a landing has become a test, not just of strength, but of patience, of fear, of will. No one knows how long this will last. No one knows how deep the tunnels go. No one knows how many men are waiting below. Only one thing is clear now. This island was built to be defended, and taking it will cost far more than anyone expected. As the Marines dig in and look ahead, a question hangs heavy in the air. Why did this place matter so much that both sides were willing to endure this? The answer lies beyond the beach, beyond the smoke, and beyond the silence that started it all. This island mattered long before the first boot touched the sand. It mattered on maps, in planning rooms, and in quiet discussions far from the front. To many people, Iwo Jima looked small and unimportant, just a dark shape in the ocean. But to the men leading the war, it sat in the middle of everything. For the United States, the war in the Pacific was moving closer to Japan. Each island taken was a step forward. Each step brought bombers nearer to the heart of the enemy. Iwo Jima lay between American bases and the Japanese mainland. Planes flew over it. Every day, some returned damaged. Some never returned at all. American pilots feared this island. Japanese fighters rose from its airfields. Radar stations watched the skies. Warnings were sent ahead. Bombers lost the element of surprise. Many crews never made it home. To American commanders, Iwo Jima was a threat that could not be ignored. They believed that taking the island would save lives later. Fighters could no longer rise from its runways. Radar eyes would be blinded. Most important of all, damaged bombers would have a place to land. A narrow strip of rock could become a lifeline in the sky. On paper, the logic was clear. Take the island, secure the airfields, shorten the war, protect the crews, move forward. But paper does not feel fear. Maps do not bleed, and plans do not crawl through burning sand. For Japan, Iwo Jima carried a different meaning. It was not just land. It was a shield, one of the last outer defenses before the homeland itself. If this island fell, the enemy would be closer than ever before. Japan no longer believed it could win the war outright. The balance had shifted. Ships were fewer, planes were scarce, supplies ran thin. But delay still mattered. Every day gained was a day the homeland was safe. Japanese leaders knew they could not stop the invasion forever, but they believed they could make it costly, painfully costly. If the price was high enough, maybe the enemy would slow down. Maybe they would think twice before coming closer. So Iwo Jima became a place to resist, not to survive. The goal was not victory. The goal was time. This idea shaped everything. The way the island was built, the way the soldiers were trained, the way they were told to fight, or more importantly, when not to fight. Instead of defending the beaches, Japan chose the ground beneath them. Instead of quick attacks, they chose patience. Every tunnel dug was a promise to delay the enemy one more hour. Every hidden position was meant to drain strength and spirit. To the soldiers stationed there, the mission was clear. Hold as long as possible. Do not waste yourself. Do not charge. Do not reveal your position too soon. Let the enemy come closer. Let them believe they are winning. For the Americans, the pressure was just as heavy. The war had already taken a long time. Families were waiting. Commanders were watching deadlines. Each delay raised questions. Each loss added weight. They believed this landing would be hard, but not this hard. They believed the bombing had done its work. They believed the enemy would fight like before. Those beliefs would soon be tested. Both sides walked into this battle carrying hope and fear. One side hoped to move forward. The other hoped to slow the march. Neither side fully understood the price they were about to pay. Iwo Jima was not chosen by chance. It was chosen because it sat in the path of destiny, a place too important to ignore, too dangerous to underestimate. As the fighting spread beyond the beach, the island revealed its true purpose. It was not just a stepping stone. It was a message that the closer the war came to Japan, the harder it would become. And as commanders on both sides watched reports come in, one truth began to settle in. This battle was not only about land, it was about resolve. About how far each side was willing to go, and about whether the cost of moving forward was worth the ground gained. The next stage of the story begins far from the beach, in planning rooms, in supply lines, in the growing pressure of a war that was running out of patience. Before the first landing craft moved toward the island, the war around Iwo Jima was already tightening like a knot. Across the Pacific, the direction was clear. The United States was moving west, island by island, base by base. Each victory brought confidence. Each victory also brought pressure to keep going. American factories worked day and night. Ships crossed the ocean in long lines. Supplies stacked higher every month. To many planners, the question was no longer if Japan would be reached, but when. Speed mattered. Momentum mattered. Stopping to rest felt dangerous. Recent battles had shaped this thinking. Islands had fallen after heavy bombing and strong landings. The cost was high, but the pattern seemed proven. Strike hard, land fast, push forward, win through strength and numbers. This belief settled deep into planning rooms. Officers studied maps and reports. They saw Iwo Jima as rough, but manageable. A small island, limited space, no room for the enemy to escape. Bomb it enough, and resistance would break. From the air, the island looked barren. Volcanic rock. Few trees. Little cover. To many eyes, it looked already defeated. But while American confidence grew, Japan's situation was darkening. Years of war had drained the nation. Cities had been damaged. Shipping lanes were under constant threat. Fuel was precious. Skilled pilots were hard to replace. The sense of expansion was gone. In its place was defense and survival. Japanese leaders knew the enemy was coming closer. Each lost island was another step toward home. The question was how to respond with what little remained. Some still believed in direct resistance, meeting the enemy head-on, charging forward, fighting to the last man. It was a path shaped by tradition and pride. But Iwo Jima would be different. The man chosen to defend it understood something others did not. He had studied the enemy carefully. He knew their strength. He knew their habits. And he knew that old methods would fail. Instead of meeting power with power, he chose endurance. On Iwo Jima, digging began months before the landing. Not shallow trenches, but deep tunnels. Not single positions, but networks. The island was slowly hollowed out from within. Soldiers worked in heat and darkness. The air was thick. The rock was hard. Progress was slow. But every tunnel meant protection. Every hidden room meant survival for another day. This work was quiet. There were no grand speeches, no cheering crowds, just the sound of tools against stone and the weight of purpose. Supplies were limited. Food was rationed. Water was precious. The men were told not to expect rescue, not to expect victory in the usual sense. They were told to hold. Across the ocean, American troops trained for the landing. Many were veterans. They had seen combat. They knew fear. But they also carried confidence from past wins. They practiced beach assaults again and again. They studied the island from photos. They memorized routes and objectives. They believed preparation would carry them through. Letters were written home, some with hope, some with quiet worry. No one spoke openly about dying. but everyone felt the risk. As the invasion date approached, the bombardment began. Ships fired from the sea, planes struck from the sky. The island shook. Smoke rose. Fire scarred the surface. From above, it looked complete. Devastating. Final. But beneath the ground, the defenders waited. They listened to the explosions. They counted the hours. They stayed silent. Their positions remained hidden. Their weapons untouched. This waiting was not easy. Every blast tested nerves. Every hour underground drained strength. But discipline held. The plan depended on patience. For the Americans, the bombardment brought reassurance. Reports described heavy damage. Observers saw little movement. It felt like proof that the enemy had been broken. Confidence returned. Some believed the landing would be over in days. A hard fight, but a short one. Enough time to move on to the next target. This belief shaped expectations. It shaped how risks were judged. It shaped how warnings were heard or ignored. Because there were warnings. Some intelligence reports suggested deep defenses. Others spoke of tunnels and hidden positions. But these reports were unclear, hard to confirm, easy to downplay. The pressure to move forward was strong. Delays cost time. Time cost momentum. And momentum felt like everything. So the decision was made. The invasion would go ahead as planned. As ships gathered and troops prepared, both sides felt the weight of what was coming. One side carried the power of numbers and machines. The other carried the power of preparation and resolve. Neither side fully understood the other. The island waited, silent, scarred on the surface, alive beneath. And as the moment drew closer, the choices made before the battle would soon reveal their true cost. Because when war begins, it does not forgive assumptions. On both sides of the ocean, the battle for Iwo Jima was already being fought inside the mind. For the American commanders, this was a problem to be solved, an island to be taken, a task to be completed so the war could move forward. They trusted plans. They trusted strength. They trusted the lessons learned from earlier landings. They had charts, maps, and reports spread across tables. They counted ships. They counted men. They counted days. Everything had a place. Everything had a number. Their thinking was shaped by success. Island after island had fallen. Each time, the cost was high, but the result was clear. Land. Push. Secure. Move on. That pattern felt reliable. Some officers raised concerns. They spoke about the shape of the island, the rough ground, the lack of cover, the possibility of deeper defenses. These concerns were noted, discussed, then set aside. Because no plan could remove all risk, and waiting too long felt like its own danger. At the top, the pressure was quiet but heavy. The war needed progress. Bombers needed safety. Pilots needed a place to land. Iwo Jima promised answers to all of that. So the commanders focused on execution. They trusted that discipline and courage would fill the gaps where knowledge failed. Across the island, the Japanese commander thought very differently. He had seen the war from many sides. He had studied his enemy closely. He knew their power. He knew their confidence. And he knew he could not defeat them in open battle. This understanding shaped his mind. He did not speak of victory. He spoke of purpose. He told his men they were not there to die quickly. They were there to endure, to resist in a way that hurt the enemy most. He rejected old ideas of charging the beach. He banned sudden attacks that revealed positions too early. He demanded patience, even when instinct pushed toward action. This was not easy. Many soldiers had grown up with ideas of honor tied to direct combat. Waiting underground felt wrong to some. Hiding felt like weakness. Fear crept in during the long hours of silence, but the commander was firm. He explained that courage could be quiet, that strength could mean waiting, that the goal was not to be seen, but to remain. He walked the tunnels himself. He spoke to soldiers face to face. He listened to their doubts. He shared their hardships. This etor. The tunnels were not comfortable. The air was stale. The heat was constant. Light was limited. Space was tight. Every day tested the body and the mind. But this shared suffering built something strong, a sense of duty, a sense of calm acceptance. They knew what was expected of them. They also knew there would be no relief. On the American side, the leaders faced their own mental strain. They knew the landing would be costly. They knew many would not return. Each order carried weight. Some commanders struggled with doubt. They questioned whether the island was worth the price, but the decision had already been made. Turning back was not an option. So they prepared their men the only way they knew how. They spoke of courage, of teamwork, of doing one's duty. They reminded soldiers of home, of why the war was being fought. These words mattered, even if they could not remove fear. Among the Marines, leaders at every level carried responsibility. Platoon leaders, squad leaders, men barely older than those they commanded. They knew that into the chaos of landing, decisions would fall on them. There would be moments when no orders came, moments when training was all they had. For many, this knowledge was heavy. The Japanese commander also carried a burden. He knew his plan asked much of his men, more than many would ever be asked. He knew they would be isolated, cut off, slowly worn down. But he believed this was the only way their sacrifice would matter. He wrote letters. He left instructions. He planned for a battle that would not be quick. A battle measured in days and nights of pressure, not sudden charges. Both sides believed they were doing what was necessary. Both sides believed their choices were justified. Neither side could fully see the other. As the invasion drew closer, tension rose quietly, not through shouting or panic, but through small signs. A pause before speaking, a longer look at a map, a letter rewritten one last time. The minds at war were set on their paths. One side prepared to strike with overwhelming force, the other prepared to absorb that force and stretch it thin. Soon, the plans would leave the rooms and enter the sand. The thinking would meet reality, and the island would judge whose understanding was closer to the truth. Because once the battle began, there would be no space left for theory. The first waves move toward the shore before most men fully understand what is coming. Landing craft cut through the water in long lines. Engines rumble. Faces are tight and quiet. Some men stare ahead. Some look down. No one talks much. From the sea, the island looks calm. Smoke drifts slowly upward. The bombardment has stopped. The silence feels like a promise. As the ramps drop, Marines rush forward. Boots hit the sand. The ground sinks under their weight. It is hard to move, hard to stand, hard to run. The beach offers no shelter, no walls, no trees, just open space. For a few moments, nothing happens. Men move inland. Units spread out. Orders are shouted. It feels almost normal, almost safe. Then everything changes. The sound does not come as one blast. It comes in waves. Sharp cracks. Deep thuds. The sand jumps again. Marines fall flat. Some do not move. Others scramble for any dip in the ground. Fire comes from places no one can see, from holes in the earth, from dark slopes, from angles that make no sense. The island opens its mouth. The careful plans break apart within minutes. Units mix together. Leaders search for their men. Radios stop working. Signals are lost. Smoke hides everything. Dust fills the air and burns the eyes. The beach becomes a trap. Men try to move forward but cannot. They try to stay low, but the ground offers no protection. Each step feels exposed. Each pause feels dangerous. Some Marines dig with their hands. Fingers claw at hot sand. It burns through gloves. But shallow holes are better than nothing. Fear spreads quickly, but so does determination. Men shout warnings. They pull each other up. They move when someone says move. They stop when someone falls. No one can see the full battle. Everyone sees only a small piece of it. A few yards, a few faces, a few moments of noise and silence. Above the beach, the enemy remains mostly hidden. Guns fire, then go quiet. Positions disappear. The Marines return fire at shadows and guesses. Nothing feels solid. Further inland, Japanese soldiers listen and wait. They follow strict orders. Do not fire too soon. Do not reveal every position. Let the enemy struggle on the beach, they hear shouting above. They hear confusion. They feel the ground shake with movement. This is the moment they prepared for. When they fire, they do so carefully, with purpose. Then they move through tunnels to new positions. The ground protects them. The island guides them. For the Marines, time loses meaning. Minutes stretch. Hours blur. The sun climbs higher. Heat presses down. Thirst grows quickly. Some units finally push past the beach. They reach higher ground, but the fighting does not ease. It only shifts. Every ridge hides danger. Every opening could be watched. The enemy does not rush. They wait. They strike when it hurts most. Flamethrowers and explosives are brought forward, tools meant for bunkers. But even these feel slow against a defense that seems endless. Each position taken reveals another behind it. By the end of the first day, exhaustion sets in. Bodies ache. Voices are hoarse. Fear turns into a dull weight that never leaves. The Marines expected resistance. They did not expect this. They expected a battle they could see. Instead, they fight an island that refuses to show its face. As night approaches, the noise does not fully fade. Shots echo. Shadows move. Sleep comes in broken pieces, if at all. The battle has ignited, and there is no quick path forward. Both sides now understand something important. This will not be decided in a single push. It will be decided inch by inch. As the days pass, the battle begins to change in quiet ways, not through one loud moment, but through many small choices made under pressure. Choices that seem minor at the time. Choices that slowly shape everything. American commanders study reports that never feel complete. Lines on maps no longer match reality. Units are scattered. Progress is measured in yards, not miles. The question is no longer how fast to move, but how to move at all. One decision stands out. Instead of pushing forward in long lines, the Marines begin to change their approach. They stop rushing. They stop assuming silence means safety. They learn to pause, to watch, to test the ground before trusting it. This slows everything, but it saves lives. Small teams begin working together more closely. One group watches, another moves, one draws attention, another strikes from the side. It is careful work, exhausting work, but it works better than blind speed. At the same time, new tools are brought forward, not as symbols of power, but as answers to a problem. Hidden positions need to be cleared. Tunnels need to be sealed. Openings need to be controlled. Each success is small. A single position taken, a single threat removed. But these small gains begin to add up. Still, every step forward brings new resistance. The Japanese defenders remain disciplined. They do not panic when ground is lost. They pull back through tunnels. They reappear somewhere else. Their goal remains the same: delay, drain, endure. But even the best plans feel strain. Supplies grow scarce underground. Air becomes harder to breathe. Sleep becomes rare. Communication breaks down. The constant pressure wears on the body and the mind. Some soldiers struggle with the order to wait, to hold fire, to stay hidden while the enemy moves closer. Fear whispers that waiting too long means being trapped. And sometimes, waiting does become dangerous. There are moments when American units stumble into unexpected resistance, moments when Japanese soldiers are cut off from tunnels, moments when plans fail on both sides. These moments matter. A wrong turn, a delayed order, a unit that pushes too far or not far enough. Each creates ripples across the battle. One key decision by American leaders is to focus on the high ground. Not the beaches anymore, not the airfields alone, but the hills and ridges that control movement. Taking these points is costly. Every approach is watched. Every slope is defended. But holding them begins to limit the enemy's options. From higher ground, Marines can see more, control more, protect those below. Slowly, the shape of the battle changes. For the Japanese commander, this shift is clear. He knows the island cannot hold forever, but he also sees that his plan is working. The enemy is moving carefully, slower than expected, paying for every step. That delay is the true victory he seeks. Yet even he must face reality. His men are isolated. Reinforcements will not come. The end is certain, even if the timing is not. He sends messages when he can. He urges continued discipline, continued restraint, continued purpose. But war does not always follow orders. Some defenders choose to fight on their own terms. Some launch sudden attacks. Some refuse to retreat. These actions bring brief success, but they also reveal positions. The balance begins to tilt. For the Marines, confidence grows, not because the battle is easy, but because progress is finally visible. Lines move, objectives are reached, units begin to connect instead of scatter. This confidence is cautious, hard-earned, built on loss and learning. Leadership at the lowest levels proves critical. A sergeant deciding when to move, a lieutenant choosing when to wait, a Marine pulling another forward instead of pressing ahead alone. These decisions are rarely recorded, but they shape the outcome. Chance also plays its role. A weapon jams at the wrong moment. A tunnel collapses unexpectedly. A unit arrives just in time, or just too late. War turns on these moments without warning. As the days turn into weeks, exhaustion deepens on both sides. Faces grow thinner. Movements slow. The will to continue becomes the main weapon left. Eventually, The defenders are pushed into fewer and fewer spaces. Their network shrinks. Their options narrow. They still fight. Still wait. Still resist. But the island no longer belongs to them in the way it once did. The turning points of Iwo Jima are not marked by a single flag or a single hill. They are marked by adaptation, by learning, by the quiet acceptance that old assumptions no longer apply. This battle is being decided not by speed, but by persistence, not by surprise, but by endurance. And as both sides feel the weight of what has already been lost, a deeper truth begins to surface. Winning this island will not feel like victory. It will feel like survival. And the cost of that survival will soon be impossible to ignore. As the fighting grinds on, the battle stops feeling like a series of moves on a map. It becomes something smaller and heavier. It becomes about bodies pushed past their limits, about minds stretched thin by fear and exhaustion. For the Marines, sleep comes in short, broken moments. They rest where they can, in shallow holes, against rocks, sometimes standing. Every sound feels close. Every shadow feels alive. Even in silence, tension never leaves. The heat presses down during the day. The volcanic ground holds it like a memory. Boots burn, hands blister. Sweat dries fast and leaves the body weaker. Water is precious. A single sip is measured. Thirst becomes a constant companion. Hunger follows close behind. Meals are rushed, often cold, sometimes missed. The body keeps moving, but strength fades slowly, hour by hour. Fear changes shape over time. At first, it is sharp and sudden, a rush of panic when shots come from nowhere. Later, it becomes dull and steady, a weight carried in the chest, always there, never gone. Men learn to live with it, not by defeating it, but by working around it. They watch each other closely, a hand on a shoulder, a short word of encouragement, a shared look that says enough without speaking. These small moments matter more than speeches. Leadership shows itself in quiet ways. A Marine who stays calm when others freeze, a voice that cuts through confusion, a choice to wait instead of rush. These actions save lives, even if no one writes them down. For the Japanese defenders, the cost is just as heavy, though different in form. Life underground wears on the body and the spirit. Air is thick, space is tight, light is rare. Days blend together. It is hard to know when to sleep, hard to know when to wake. Food runs low. Water is rationed carefully. Some soldiers go hungry for long stretches. Weakness creeps in. Movement slow. Illness spreads easily in closed spaces. The waiting is often worse than the fighting. Hours pass with nothing but distant noise. Explosions above. Footsteps. The sense that the enemy is close, but unseen. Every sound brings tension. Every silence brings doubt. Many defenders think of home, of families they will never see again, of lives paused and now slipping away. These thoughts come uninvited, especially in the dark. Some write letters they know will never be sent. Some say nothing at all. Orders still matter. Discipline still holds. But as positions are lost and tunnels collapse, isolation grows. Units are cut off. Communication fades. Each group becomes its own world. In these moments, choice becomes personal. Some continue to follow the plan, waiting for the right moment to strike. Others decide that moment will never come. They act on instinct, on fear, on belief. For both sides, injury becomes a constant reality. Men are hurt by falling rock, by blasts, by exhaustion. Many keep fighting despite pain. Stopping feels dangerous. Falling behind feels worse. Medics work without rest. They move through chaos with calm focus. They treat wounds quickly, gently, often under pressure. Their presence brings hope, even in the worst moments. Some cannot be saved. This truth settles heavily on everyone. There is no cheering, no celebration. Loss is quiet. It is felt in the space where someone stood moments before, in a voice no longer heard, in a job that suddenly belongs to someone else. Grief has no time to fully surface. The battle does not pause. So it is pushed aside, stored away, to be felt later. Or never. Despite everything, moments of humanity break through. A shared cigarette, a joke whispered at night, a simple act of kindness in a harsh place. These moments remind men they are more than soldiers, more than targets. They remind them why they are holding on. As days turn into weeks, the toll becomes clear. Faces look older, movements are slower, reactions are delayed. The body can only give so much before it begins to fail. The island itself seems to press inward. There is little green, little softness, just rock, sand, and smoke. It feels like a place without mercy, yet still, men endure. For the Marines, progress continues, but at a cost that is impossible to ignore. Every gain is paid for. Every hill taken leaves scars that will not fade easily. For the Japanese defenders, resistance continues, even as hope fades. They fight not for victory, but for meaning. For the belief that their sacrifice has purpose, both sides are bound by duty, by belief, by the simple fact that retreat is not an option. The human cost of Iwo Jima is not measured only in numbers. It is measured in exhaustion, in fear carried quietly, in strength drawn from places no one knew existed. By the time the battle begins to slow, everyone involved understands something deeply. No one leaves this island unchanged. The ground has taken its toll, and the price of this battle will echo long after the fighting ends. The fighting does not end with a single moment. There is no clear line where struggle turns into relief. It fades slowly, unevenly, like a storm losing strength, but never fully disappearing. By now, much of the island is under American control. Airfields are secured. High ground is held. Supply routes are steadier. From above, it looks like success. On the ground, it feels different. Resistance continues in pockets. Small groups emerge from hidden places. Some fight briefly. Some surrender. Some disappear back into the earth. Every advance is made with caution, because surprise has not left this island. Marines no longer expect quiet to mean safety. They move carefully. They check every opening. They wait longer before stepping forward. Experience has replaced hope. Survival has replaced speed. Slowly, the number of defenders drops. Not all at once. Not evenly. Some positions hold longer than expected. Others fall suddenly. There is no pattern that feels predictable. The Japanese commander knows the end is near. His network is broken. His men are scattered. Communication is almost gone. Supplies are nearly finished. But his purpose remains unchanged. He does not seek a dramatic final moment. He does not call for reckless action. He accepts what is happening with calm resolve. His goal has always been delay, not escape. Even now, he urges discipline. He urges restraint. He urges his men to make every remaining hour matter. Some do. Some cannot. The last days are marked by exhaustion more than fear. Bodies move out of habit. Decisions are slower. Reactions dull. Everyone involved feels worn down to the core. For the Marines, victory feels heavy. There is no cheering, no rush of joy, only a deep tiredness and the quiet knowledge of what it took to reach this point. When a position is finally secured, men often sit in silence. They drink water. They stare at the ground. They do not speak much. Words feel unnecessary. The island is quieter now, but not peaceful. Shots still echo at times. Explosions still rumble in the distance. Night remains tense. No one fully relaxes. Not yet. When the final organized resistance fades, it happens without drama. No announcement, no clear signal, just the slow realization that the island is no longer fighting back as before. The battle is over in name, but its weight remains. Flags are raised. Photographs are taken. From far away, these images tell a story of triumph, of achievement, of progress. Up close, the story feels more complicated. The ground is scarred. The air smells of smoke and dust. Equipment lies scattered. The marks of struggle are everywhere, even where no one looks. For the Marines who survived, there is relief. They are alive. They made it through. But that relief is tied closely to loss. They remember faces that are no longer there, voices that will never speak again, moments that replay without warning. They know this victory came at a terrible cost. For the Japanese defenders who remain, defeat does not feel like surrender. It feels like completion. Their task is finished. Their role in the war has reached its end. Some are taken into custody, exhausted, thin, silent. Others are found later, emerging slowly from hiding, long after the main fighting has stopped. They carry the same look in their eyes: weariness, acceptance, a sense that they gave everything they could. No one on this island feels untouched. Iwo Jima does not produce heroes in the simple sense. It produces survivors, men who endured something that reshaped how they see the world. For American commanders, the result is mixed. The objective is achieved. The island is taken. Airfields are in use. Bombers begin landing. Pilots are saved. But the numbers are hard to ignore. Losses are far higher than expected. The assumptions made before the battle no longer feel safe. Questions rise quietly. Was it worth it? Could it have been done differently? What does this mean for what comes next? For Japan, the outcome confirms a harsh truth. Defense can delay, but not stop the advance. Even the strongest preparation cannot change the balance forever. Yet the delay mattered. Time was bought. Pressure was applied. The enemy was forced to slow down and rethink. In that sense, the plan worked, even in defeat. The Battle of Iwo Jima does not end with celebration or despair. It ends with understanding. An understanding that victory and loss are not always opposites. That survival can feel like both. That success can carry sorrow, and sacrifice can shape the future in ways not immediately seen. As the island settles into uneasy quiet, those who remain begin to look beyond it. The war is not over, but it will never be fought the same way again. Because what happened here has changed how both sides think. About landings, about defense, about the true cost of moving forward. And as ships prepare to leave and new orders are written, the meaning of Iwo Jima begins to extend beyond its shores. The island has given its answer. Now the world must live with it. Long after the guns fall silent, Iwo Jima refuses to fade. It stays alive in memory, in lessons, and in the quiet thoughts of those who passed through it. This small island becomes something larger than itself. It becomes a warning and a reminder. For the United States, Iwo Jima changes how war is understood. Planners no longer trust surface silence. They no longer believe bombing alone can break a defender's will. The ground beneath the enemy now matters as much as the ground in front of them. Future battles will be planned differently, more carefully, more slowly. The price paid here makes leaders cautious. It forces them to think not only about winning, but about what winning costs. The island also becomes a place of memory, a symbol. Images from Iwo Jima travel far beyond the Pacific. They shape how people see the war, how they remember sacrifice, how they understand service. But behind every symbol are real men, ordinary people placed in extraordinary pressure. Many never returned. Many who did carried the island with them for the rest of their lives. They remembered the sand, the silence, the fear that came without warning. They remembered faces and voices, often more clearly than dates or places. For Japan, Iwo Jima carries a different meaning. It proves that resistance can slow a stronger enemy, but it also shows the limits of endurance. Even the most prepared defense cannot change the course of a war on its own. The battle reinforces a painful truth. The homeland is now vulnerable. The distance that once felt safe has closed. The war is no longer far away. The Japanese commander's strategy is studied long after the battle ends. His focus on patience, preparation, and delay becomes a lesson in defensive warfare. Even in defeat, his choices shape military thinking. But strategy does not erase suffering. The soldiers who fought underground are remembered not for victory, but for resolve, for holding their positions under impossible conditions, for enduring isolation and fear with discipline. Iwo Jima shows that war is not just about movement and control. It is about limits, human limits, physical limits, moral limits. It shows how quickly confidence can turn into caution, how plans can break under pressure, how survival can become the only goal that matters. This battle does not offer simple answers. It does not divide cleanly into right and wrong, success and failure. Instead, it leaves questions. What makes a battle worth fighting? How much is too much to ask of those sent to fight? And how many lessons must be learned the hard way? For those who study history, Iwo Jima stands as a turning point. Not because it ended the war, but because it changed how the war was fought. What was learned here shaped everything that followed. For those who lived it, the island was not a lesson. It was an experience, one that stayed long after the sounds faded. Today, the island is quiet. The tunnels are empty. The beaches are still. Wind moves across the ground where men once waited in fear. But the story remains. It remains in the choices made under pressure, in the endurance shown without hope of relief, in the understanding that even the smallest place can carry enormous weight. Iwo Jima reminds us that history is not shaped only by great victories or final defeats. It is shaped by moments of decision, by patience under fire, by the human cost of holding on. And in that sense, the island still speaks, not of glory, not of triumph, but of the price paid when nations test the limits of human strength.